It's hard to know how to begin after hearing what Daryl shared with us, and thanks for sharing that with us, Daryl. It underlines so many things that are important in life, and our faith is shown for its value to the human condition, because it provides us with constant hope, and we know there are a lot of people who don't have that hope. Learning to love isn't just a challenge that Christians have. Our world certainly could use some of these lessons. Learning how to love effectively makes a big difference in the lives of other people. Last week, we looked at the first two love languages, giving gifts and words of affirmation. And this evening, we're going to look at numbers 3 and 4 as a part 2 of learning to love. 3 and 4 are acts of service and spending quality time. We have some handouts for you that overview both of those love languages. There are 5 love languages. The next one will be covered next week. Number 5. And then Don Malure will be teaching that lesson, and also he's going to be talking a little bit more the week after that on finding your love language and learning how to discover the love languages of the people around you. I'll be out of pocket for a couple of weeks. Lenita and Micah and I are going to go see Lenita in Oklahoma. Joni in Oklahoma. Yeah. So we're excited about that. Keegan's going to be rolling in on Christmas Day, so that's pretty exciting. And he's going to resettle in this area, get his life kind of recentered. He and his fiance have broken up, and that's a sad story, but it happens sometimes. And so big transitions in our clan. Well, he'll be here, yes, but I'll tell him that. He's probably going to leave at 4 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning and drive 3 days, and he'll be back. But he misses you guys. He misses his life here. So I'm glad he misses us. All of these different love languages are important to each one of us because each one expresses an emotional need or an intellectual need. And when that is something that we miss out on, people miss out on it. Ray, we're not working. You ever do this with your car? It works, but it's not working now. We've got to get a new one. Something, I don't know. Go. Each one of these expresses an emotional or a intellectual need, and it's how we experience love, either primarily in an emotional way or primarily in an intellectual way. And if needs are not met, then people will not feel loved. One of the common conflicts that exist in families is when one person speaks one love language and someone else in the family speaks a different love language. So, for instance, the two that we're talking about today, acts of service and quality time. If one parent speaks acts of service and is trying to communicate love that way, but the primary love language of either the spouse or the children is quality time, then they're going to feel like nobody appreciates them because they're going to do stuff for them, speaking out of their own love language, loving out of their own language of acts of service, doing things for them where, and it's not that the other people in the family wouldn't necessarily appreciate it, but it's not going to have the same effect. I heard an illustration at a wedding I went to that I think is a good illustration. The minister said that some people think that marriage is like having a box of love, and when you get married, you take all of these good things out of the box. But he said that's not the way it is. It could be a box, but it's you putting things into the box that makes the relationship valuable. And that's the same thing here. When we speak love languages of people, we are putting into the box. If we are not speaking the language that people feel, maybe we can say we're not doing anything, but oftentimes we're taking from the box because we're creating some conflict sometimes, we're creating some stress sometimes because we're not feeling loved by the other people that are in our family. Sometimes that happens in friendships where they may speak one language and you may speak something else, and they're trying to show they care about you, but they don't quite make it, and the friendship breaks up. And you might say, well, it's because I just don't think you care about me. And caring it's not the issue. It is that I'm not effectively saying that I care. Are you in charge of this then, Ray? Did you give it back to me? There we go. So the goal is better relationships. Go ahead and, is it work now?
Yeah, I clicked off on it.
Oh.
Oh,
okay, well, it worked. Okay, this is a quote that Gary Chapman says that I think captures the whole idea of what we're studying. He says, I would be so bold as to suggest that life's greatest happiness is found in good relationships, and life's deepest hurt is found in bad relationships. And so our goal is to do what we can to pour into and make good relationships. And as we've said, all languages have value, so we need to be able to speak each one because different people that we encounter will speak different languages. We will look at language number 3, which is acts of service. And this is one, I think all of the love languages have a basis in Scripture. This is one that has a very strong emphasis in Scripture. And I wanted to just look at 3 because they talk about this idea of serving others and being humble. So this passage, Philippians 2:3, says, do nothing out of rivalry or conceit, but in humility consider others as more important than yourselves. See, that says something about serving. It is that we aren't in competition. I'm not trying to do something with some sort of negative connotation connected to it. I'm going to serve you, and it's going to be in a way that reflects the humility because regardless of how it is taken, I'm going to serve you because I see you as more important than me. So it doesn't matter how you accept it or don't accept it. Sometimes people will serve others and maybe it's not accepted right, or maybe it's not acknowledged, and the person who serves becomes kind of bitter and resentful, and it's because they're serving from the wrong perspective. We always serve from the perspective of, I understand that you are more important than me. Romans 12, verse 10, talks about showing family affection to one another with brotherly love. Outdo one another in showing honor. So there's this challenge for us to to conduct ourselves in such a way, if there's any competition, it's trying to outserve and out-honor one another. And then this passage in Galatians 5:13 and 14 says, For you were called to be free, brothers, only don't use this freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but serve one another through love. For the entire law is fulfilled in one statement: love your neighbor as yourself. So these verses all communicate something that's important to understand when it comes to serving, whether it's humility, whether it's doing what we can to serve others, whether it's understanding that I can love others when I serve them. And I do love others when I serve them. Gary Chapman pointed out that sometimes in some situations and in some families that there is a serving, but it feels more like slavery instead of serving. And he said that slavery involves fear, coercion, and guilt. And these things will result in anger, bitterness, and resentment. So that's something completely different. Serving isn't something that happens out of fear or coercion or guilt. That I serve as an expression of love. And there's a different response from that. This can be a challenge sometimes to serve others because we live in kind of a do-it-yourself sort of society. There might be the expectation on my part that I'm not going to serve you because it's your responsibility to take care of your business. Another do-it-yourself idea is, I can take care of this myself, or I should take care of this myself, and so I don't necessarily need anyone else to do these things for me. Or something that is decidedly more selfish, and that is, I will take care of me alone. Not you, but I will take care of me. So those three attitudes make serving difficult because it reflects this do-it-yourself mentality. If we look at those scriptures that deal with serving, we realize that serving should be a core value, but I don't think it comes easily. I think there's a transition that takes place when we learn the value of serving others. Albert Einstein, it is said, that used to have pictures in his office of other scientists like Newton. And he changed those pictures for pictures of people like Albert Schweitzer. And it's because at some point he changed in his mind from the emphasis of his life goals to realizing what's more important is not what he's doing, but what's more important is serving others. He said, it is time to remove the symbols of science and replace with symbols of service. The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. The supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge. So he's talking about the role that the teacher serves. Only a life lived in service to others is worth living. So he went through some sort of change and began to understand that what we do in our lives is important, but what is more important is serving others. And if we buy into this idea that we are to love others, and I wanted to look at a passage in 1 John chapter 3. if we agree with this idea that loving is important, then we have to understand the rest of the equation too. It says, this is how we have come to know love. He laid down, this is 1 John 3:16. This is how we have come to know love. He laid down his life for us. We should also lay down our lives for our brothers. And then he mentions an example. If anyone has this world's goods and sees his brother in need, but closes his eyes to his need, how can God's love reside in him? So he's kind of talking about serving others. He's kind of talking about demonstrating love to other people. And he's saying that if you observe this but don't do anything, how can God's love be inside you? Little children, we must not love with word or speech, but with truth and action. This is how we know we belong to the truth. This is how we know we belong to the truth. By loving others, by serving others, by doing what we can for other people. So when we begin to understand that it is our responsibility to love others in ways that meet them and speak love to them, then we look for how we go about doing that. Mother Teresa said that love cannot remain by itself. It has no meaning. So if you just say, I love you, and that's it, it's just the words, so it's similar to what John has already taught us. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service. And so there's an encouragement for us to look around and be alert to the needs of those around us. The sheet that I passed out to you talks about acts of service, and it says, you feel loved when your parent does things to help you. It could be doing the dishes, folding the laundry, watching the kids for an hour or two, washing your car, or any other task that eases your responsibilities. So this acts of service is something that we do that has to do with what we've observed in someone else, and we observe their need, and then we act in a way that seeks to fulfill that need. The second love language we'll look at tonight is this quality time. Quality time. And the study guide said this is spending focused time together. And each one of those words is important. Spending, so that's a span of time. Focused, that means the time that we're spending has a goal and we're together. You might be able to think of a good example of spending time together but not focused. One of the examples I thought of is, I thought of a couple. Once I thought of this one, it kind of went on from there. Okay, so a mother is sitting on the floor with her child, and they're rolling a ball back and forth. Okay, that's doing something, that's spending time together. They're kind of playing, but what takes the focused part from it is that she's talking on the phone. So, and once she begins talking on the phone or maybe texting or something like that, it's no longer focused time. And I've thought about this. I've heard some kind of humorous, you're kidding me stories. I've heard of a counselor who was counseling a couple. It was premarital counseling. And he was answering texts while he was counseling them. And so I said, "You're kidding." Have you had any, can you think of any examples like that where you were spending time with somebody, but it wasn't necessarily focused time? Hank, and then.
This time right now, I'm spending time with my wife, but I am not focused on her. I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
So this is time together that is not focused time together.
Good, good, good. Watching TV together, yes, yes. My family always did that, but I'm not sure we were together. I've got some counseling time free, like next week, dude. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. Okay, all right. All right. Okay, yeah, thank you. She said it happened in an interview one time. She was talking with somebody in an interview, and that person was doing all kinds of other things, answering an email, answering a text. Yeah. Yes.
Oftentimes, this has past few months, all three of us didn't really are in our apartment, but so Brianna and I are notorious for being like talking around our phones or on our computers, we're not thinking what's going on, and on our phones, so we're together, we're actually together.
Yes. Yes, and sometimes, yeah, okay, so how do we, someone else, before I go on to maybe coming up with some suggestions. Yes?
Yesterday with Megan, and we were eating dinner, we were thinking that we were eating dinner together on our
Yeah. Yeah, so you're together, you're in at the same table? And Facebooking. All right. Yes?
The other night, Jimmy was filling out Christmas cards, and I was working on my math final. So we was in the same room, but I didn't know what we were saying.
Right. Yes. Yes. So she said that her and Jimmy were in the same room. She's doing math, he's doing Christmas cards, and they were together, but they weren't together. Dan?
This principle plays out on a bigger scale as well. In a whole church, we need to be spending time as a whole church with each other, actually with each other. To do that, there have to be goals that we're all working on together as a church. One of the beautiful things that I've seen over the last 20 years was when the Port Orchard Church had a celebration this time of year they call Celebrate Jesus.
Right.
Way bigger enterprise than they were capable of staffing themselves. So Churches of Christ from all over Puget Sound were going over there. All of them were involved. There was all kinds of things for them to do. People that could do nothing except wash clothes. They were desperately needed to wash the costumes. Some of the people, all they could do was put on face paint. Needed face paint. It was so much to do. They were deeply involved with each other in this common task. So they weren't sitting around each one on their own. They were working something together.
Yes, and I want to underline the fact that you use the word common task. A lot of times when we're with another person, we don't have a common task. We each have our own thing going on, and that's what takes it away from being quality time. That's what disqualifies it from being quality time. And so that these people, and I've witnessed just watching it, when they're working together, they are working together on a common task as opposed to two separate, or, if it's just two people, two separate tasks. So, yeah. Anyone else? Now, it happens in couples relationships. You gave several examples. How do we do better in that? And so this just happened with Lanita and I last night. She asked me a question, and I grunted. And she interpreted that as something in the affirmative, but I had no idea what she was asking. Yeah, we were in the same room. We were literally a foot apart. But so how do we work on that? Yeah.
I found once I finished the math, instead of going on and doing other stuff, we were in the same room, I got up and sat at the table with him, and we started working on the
Yeah. Yeah. So you actually join in the same task. Yeah, good. Yes.
doing things that will require you to have a common task. Another example, yesterday we were driving up to Bellevue. So Megan's driving, so she obviously can't text.
Right.
So the fact that she wasn't texting, I didn't have my phone on either, so we had a conversation.
Yeah.
Right up. So doing something where we can't be distracted.
Yeah. So you were together going to this place, so you had that in common. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, when the kids were little, I three kids, trying to split my time, quality time with them. What I found myself doing was like, when I would take one of the girls and I would spend the whole day with them, just
Yeah.
to have the other two, and I would do whatever they wanted to do. And so I think it was Jessica, we went to see The Little Mermaid, but I got all dressed up because my kids don't see me get dressed up unless it's for pictures for Jimmy's functions.
Right.
So I got dressed up and put on the makeup thing, and we went and sat in the dark in the movie. But, I took her to dinner and just did what she wanted to do for the whole day.
That's good.
And so every other month I'd pick another, daughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of fun doing like that.
Yeah, that's one of the specifics that she said that since she has 3 kids, you have to be able to give quality time to each one, to pick an activity that they're going to like to do, and create it to where you really have this activity in common. Yes? Okay.
Nothing overlaps in our understanding and what makes us feel loved within that quality time.
Okay. All right. So you're speaking the same language, but you're still 2 different people. And so what Stephanie said, I think, has value here. They picked something that one of the children wanted to do. And so that's kind of the next step. Okay, with the same language, now we have to figure out. And that's where, just like serving, you look for what needs to be done and then you do that. You just don't do what you want to do. That might say something, but it would say more if it's something that they need to have done, as opposed to something you just want to do. So, same thing, they need to know, we need to know the person that we're in this quality relationship with, what they want to do. And hopefully it's a reciprocal thing. So today it's what you want to do, and tomorrow it might be what I want to do. Ken?
I think you need to be a clown sometimes and make people laugh.
A clown? Yeah.
Play with the kids. I play with the kids
Yeah.
and we laugh and wrestle and we'll let the kids beat me up. And my wife used to chase her around and snort like a pig. Chase her around and make her laugh.
Okay. Yeah.
We have fun together.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is part of it. Laughter should always be one of the memories that you take away from life. Yes, sir.
Amber told me one time that she would try to get a father's attention at breakfast, and we need the newspaper. So they were spending time together at breakfast, but there was no eye contact, no verbal communication. She said she would actually back the paper away from him to get his attention. He would just pick it back up and continue reading. That's not quality time.
Yeah. 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 Yes. Thank you.
I think you have to be intentional. Whatever you're going to do, you have to be intentional. And you may have to put away the remotes, you might have to put all
Yeah.
the electronics
Yeah.
away. And in being intentional, there's got to be a plan of some sort.
Good. Yeah. So several of you mentioned, or we've already mentioned in this discussion, 2 of the 3 C's. So they are connecting, and you might have even said that, communicating, and that's not a complete sentence. It just, common has a C, and so the 3 C's, but in common with others is kind of the idea. But these are 3 things that help define what quality time means. One is you're connecting with other people, with another person. You are communicating with this person, and you have this activity in common. Now, what if your parents did not talk much, and that is how you feel comfortable? So it's kind of a scenario. Is that the way things should be in your house with no need or reason to change? Sir?
Absolutely not. If a person chooses to have a relationship with another, it's important to understand their love language. In counseling, I had a father of teenagers that I don't talk when I go home from work.
Yes.
And he said that he shouldn't have married, and he shouldn't have had children. But he was using that as his cop-out. We're not communicating. And so we must engage in communication.
Yes, I have also had a similar discussion that, we just never talk things out in my family. And so now in my own family that I've created from my marriage, we don't talk things out. And in some cases, they think this is the way it is. But it's not. It's not fair. It doesn't reflect these things, which I think are good for any sort of relationship. But you have to. But what if talking makes you feel uncomfortable? Okay.
Something I've discovered, especially about myself, but it seems to be true maybe more of men than women, is that usually it's easier to get them talking when you're doing something, especially with that task in common.
Okay.
So a good way, especially for somebody who's uncomfortable, because the biggest thing, I don't like conversation, or I don't always like conversation, just one-on-one, face-to-face conversation. But a lot of times if I'm doing something else and get to talking and then get to talking more, it just kind of
Yeah, good.
eases the process. So if you find that common task, your conversation might start out very utilitarian, but you can add in more and more.
Good. And everything you just said, it includes all 3 of those C's. So thank you. We had, over here.
Both of these things, the acts of service and your quality time, they both involve possibly starting out where you're very uncomfortable, but you just have to go through it.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, it will become natural.
Right.
It's like becoming a Christian.
Yeah.
It's not the most comfortable thing when you first start. You may have to fake it for a while, but it becomes real after a while.
Good, yeah.
And I think all of these love languages you're talking about are the same thing. You have to be uncomfortable until it is comfortable.
Right.
But that's a long road for some people.
Yes, sir, and it can be a process, and I think this thing that we're talking about here is one of those reasons why maybe it might take some a little bit longer, because we've never done this in my family. And so how do you learn how to do that? Well, it's going to take time. Okay, Hannah.
It seemed to me that whenever my younger siblings wanted to spend time with me, it was always during a time when I was doing something important. I was doing my chores, I was gardening, I was doing something.
Yeah.
And I came up with the idea of telling them, here, you tell me about your story, the thing you're coming out with. You tell me about what you're talking about, and I'll keep my hands busy so I can listen to you better. And so I'd be pulling grass, and my brothers would be telling me a story he's writing, and
thing.
Okay.
But it was top quality time for him, and it was keeping myself from feeling bad about doing something at the time.
Okay. 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 Was there? Yes.
When I was a single parent, my 17-year-old son asked me a question at the dinner table, and he said a lot of his friends had moms and dads at home, and they were talking to them. And he said, why do you show so much concern and keep talking to me? And so I thought for a minute, and he wondered how long this was going to happen. And I said, at least for another 20 years. And we've already renewed that.
Mm-hmm.
We've already renewed that.
Yeah.
I knew talking was healthy, and not communicating at all was not healthy.
Yeah.
Because life was tough enough as a single parent and as a kid without the mom.
Yeah, it's certainly worth developing the 3 C's is certainly worth it. Developing and practicing loving others with quality time certainly has its benefits. One of the things that I found myself falling into this trap, I think it's the Mr. Fix-It trap. Or it could be a Mrs. Fix-It trap. It could be. So, and that is that I listen just long enough to advise you how to fix your problem. So what's wrong with that? Sir?
You know, a lot of us communicate the very way you just said. You start talking, and I start forming my rebuttal as I am half listening to you, because I'm already thinking about what I'm going to say when you stop talking.
Yes.
Because I'm already forming my opinion and what I'm going to say back to you, and I'm really not listening to you.
Right. Yes.
It's difficult, and I will tell you honestly, it's also a hard habit to get out of once you get into it.
It is. It's a habit. Why does it seem to work?
In order for it not to work, the relationship has to have an understanding that it's okay for there to be silence. For the other person, for one person to finish talking and let there be silence until the other person's
Yeah.
done on what to say.
Okay. All right.
Be okay with silence, or else you're gonna have to take
Right. You gotta say something. Okay.
What's helped me with the same thing that Daryl struggles with is to ask my girls, what do you need from me? Do you need me to help you fix this, or do you just need to vent?
Okay.
And usually I will get a response from Brittany, I don't need you to fix anything, this is just, I have to vent. And then that way, I can sit back and listen, I don't have to try and figure it out.
Okay. All right. All right. So you start out with that kind of? Okay. All right. So, gotcha. All right. All right. I get you. Let's see. Go ahead.
Quality time. One person I talk to a lot, everyone knows this, Monica Robeson, and I love her. I'll talk to her about anything. She's like, okay, it's my turn. Do you want advice?
Yeah.
Do you want to sit down?
Yeah.
She every time I say anything, she's like, okay, do you need my help with something? I want you to call. She always asks, what do you need? I'm like, this is why I talk to you. She's like, because I'm ready. She goes, okay, ready, let's go. And so she'll always stop and let me just, whatever it is, and she's like, okay, now what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Nothing, just okay.
Yeah, good. Yeah, yeah. One thing I want to comment on what Daryl said, since he got this particular line going of conversation, is that one of the things, once I start formulating, I stop listening, right? Yeah. So I wanted to underline that point. Yeah.
You know, I think people work different than home.
Who what?
Who treat work differently than they do treat their families.
Okay.
The reason why I'm listening to everybody's, comments, and I'm thinking, They don't want you to do anything but to focus on them. Sometimes it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a mindset of putting out fire.
Yeah.
And that's where the idea of fix it comes in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fix it and do this. That's the mindset that we have.
Good.
But it's because, in society, and especially work,
Yeah.
that's what works.
Yeah.
But in families and relationships, that's not what works.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what infuriates people.
Yeah.
That's what makes people feel that you're not important to them.
Yeah.
You're not thinking of them as important. They don't want you to multitask. They don't want you to do two
Good.
things at once. They want you to stop everything.
That's right. Yeah.
Show me, give me your attention, and give me your love.
Yeah, thank you. Give me your love. Communicate love to me. That's what's happening right then. And if I don't, I don't. I miss the opportunity to love. And I may have taken something out of that box too. So, yeah, sir.
For me, and we talked about it, all the stuff that we're talking about now is secondary to the first problem. Because the first problem with communication for me is the distractions.
Yeah,
You've got to eliminate the distractions.
yeah, yeah.
And I can be the first one to admit it, that if you try to have a conversation with me during a football game, it's going to be difficult. But if you try to have a conversation with me during a Dallas Cowboy football game, it's impossible. And so I have even attempted to talk to someone on the phone with the purpose of having a conversation with them while the Cowboys are playing on TV, and I can't do it.
You can't even.
I can't do it.
Okay.
So I like, we've all heard about the cell phone games. So one of the things I try to do when the kids from my shop, because I have a lot of young airmen that work with me, is I like to try to play the cell phone game when we go to lunch. And none of them are willing to do it. Because first of all, they don't want to pay for lunch. And second of all, they know if they put their cell phone in the middle of the table, they're going to have to want to pick it up in 3 minutes so they can check it again. Because in my mind, that is the media is the biggest problem.
Distraction.
When it comes to quality time, way above anything else
Yeah.
that we're saying.
Yeah.
Because we allow the media to get in the way. We can be sitting in the same room with our spouse. I have seen my children, Carter and Amber, sitting in the same room together, both on their own laptops, doing Facebook, and they could be 100 miles from each other and communicating just as well because they're not even paying attention to it. Same thing with me. I could be sitting in the same room with Paula, but I am on my phone doing silly things. So Paula could be in Louisiana and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Distractions is a big thing.
Yeah, so distractions, multitasking, for some reason not, or wanting to fix it. So those are three of the things that really attack the 3 C's. Okay, Ken and then Don. Okay, Don.
I think Steve hit a high point there. Molly talks about our hats. We have a work hat and we have a home hat. Mary Twain shall meet.
Good.
We pretend to be working when we're talking to our spouse or our family. That's a mistake.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, yes.
There is one thing you've missed.
Okay.
As a mother or as a dad, you've got to start helping the children learn, and you've got to be the mother or the dad at that time until they're older, like grandmothers raising grandchildren, grandmothers raising grandchildren. It's a continuous thing. It's not something that never happens when you start. You have to get used to it.
Yeah.
It's very important to start with that.
That's right. So you build this habit of spending quality time when they're young, and you keep it going as they grow. And as Don said, when they get older, if you still have that, that's a gift. That's a thumbs up. All right. Effectively applying the 3 C's. These are just the good things that we should think about when it comes to communicating. And so we've kind of talked all around these things. Maintaining eye contact when listening. Don't engage in other activities when listening. Listen for feelings. Yeah. Observe body language. If somebody's telling you something and say they're telling you, you hope this person never comes back. That's what they're telling you. They've left. You hope they never come back. You could be crying, or you could have clenched fists. Both of those nonverbals are going to say whether they're angry about the situation, they really mean it, or they're very sad and they wish something would be different. So sometimes body language can help you understand better, listen better. Refuse to interrupt. So just make that deal with yourself right now. I'm not going to interrupt this conversation. Ask reflective questions, and these two, ask reflective questions and express understanding, are feedback things that you can use instead of, because often, has anybody ever done this? Have you ever responded, Mr. or Mrs. Fix-It, responded, and then when they finish up, they say, no, that's not what I was talking about. That's not what I meant. Sure. So reflective questions and express understanding. So this is what you're talking about, or is this what you're talking about? Those things help with the process. And then maybe ask, what could you do to help? Now, some of you said, I do this on the open end, so I kind of know how to listen. And it's at the end here, so I guess I'll let you decide which is most effective for you. What I was thinking with this is that I don't say anything until this person has had a chance to say what they need to say. So they've had a chance to say what they need to say, and I've had a chance to love them. So it's interesting that the things that make up quality time are the things that make good communication. So kind of a double whammy here. I want to end with just keeping in mind that if we're to love others, that means we are speaking good things into their lives. And that is my mindset. That is how I define this core value of serving and or listening, as I'm trying to pour into this relationship love and care and concern. I want them to be filled up. I don't want to be guilty of taking stuff away. I want to be guilty of being the person who's encouraging and always keeping that tank full. Or I don't want to be the person who's always making a withdrawal from that bank of goodwill. I want to be that person who's always making a deposit and depositing large and depositing generously into that relationship so that the love will be there. This is important for a couple of reasons. And one is, if we have a disagreement and there's plenty of love, that the tank is full, that I've made good deposits. And you may have realized this too, when you do have a disagreement, it moves on quickly. It's not something that you get hung up on, because it's not bitterness and resentment and anger, but it's really care about this person is what comes out. So it's that when I'm loving the people around me and something comes up that causes conflict, there's plenty of fuel in the tank. Second, some of us have very difficult life circumstances which require a demanding amount of love. It's like your lifestyle is kind of like a car with terrible gas mileage, you know. You're always using the resources. And so if I'm always trying to pour into the circumstance, then I'm able to sustain over a period of time. We call that endurance. I'm able to sustain because there is plenty of love in that tank to go around. So thanks for your participation in this class, and have a good night and Merry Christmas.